Welcome everybody. So I'm going to be talking about Girafarig today. Um, Man, there's a lot to cover. So first, I'm going to start off with the typing. Um, I know most people want Psychic Dark Girafarig. However, there's a very important reason why I cannot do that. Reason being, Malamar exists, and Malamar is a Psychic Dark type with Contrary. Um, in fact, I've actually created sort of a Contrary trio in this hack with Girafarig, Spinda, and Malamar. Those three being normal dark, normal psychic, and dark psychic. I think that it creates a nice little type triangle, where they kind of swap their typings between the three of them. And I hope also another thing is that Girafarig, if you are familiar with beta Girafarig, I believe it was normal dark type in the beta. I don't think it was psychic type, I'm pretty sure. Let me actually look it up just to make sure I'm not lying. I'm not sure if they said it wasn't normal dark type, but oh well, who knows? But that definitely looks more like a normal dark type because the way I see Girafarig is that the reason. Okay, so let me just ask you this: Girafarig is a normal psychic type normally, yeah. What about it is psychic? It's the head. It's the weird little creepy head thing on its tail. It has like this weird aura and makes it psychic type. The normal giraffe is why it's a normal type. It's just a fucking giraffe, or whatever, Pokemon equivalent of a giraffe. So then that begs the question, if the head is supposed to be the dark typing part, then why is the normal part the psychic part? Obviously I understand it is a cool change. I know people like the psychic dark, but I actually don't even think it makes that much sense anyways. And to compensate for those of you who are wanting that psychic dark Girafarig, despite the fact that Malamar exists, you have Psychic Surge on Girafarig now. So Psychic Surge is a very solid ability. It essentially gives Girafarig access to 3 stabs, so it has normal and dark stab, which is very good, and then psychic stab on top of that, which is also very good. That also makes it immune to priority, so that's really nice to have the ability for. It's just a solid ability. So yeah, that's that. I don't need to explain too much more than Psychic Surge. It can, you can use it to support your teammates. You can use it, again, just to make yourself stronger or immune to priority. You're immune to stuff like Burst Impression, which is a big deal because you are weak to that. Mach Punch, all kinds of priority moves. It's always nice to be immune to those during Psychic terrain. So that explains that, I hope. As for the actual meat of the changes, because obviously Psychic Surge is a great useful ability, and again, 3 stabs is great. It's very powerful. Also, Girafarig stats, it is much faster, stronger, and slightly bulkier. I figured it should still be more especially leaning because that head can only do so much damage, and it can stomp around and shit as a 5-foot tall giraffe thing. But it should still be a little bit stronger, especially, and it has a nice base 100 speed stat. It can run around fairly quickly. But the main important change here is Contrary. Okay, so the logic of Contrary, before I get into it, because I made a lot of new moves essentially that work with Contrary, tons of new moves. So you might be looking at this list and be like, oh, what? It only has superpower and Psycho Boost, like those are the only moves it has for Contrary? No, it has plenty more, but I will cover them in a little bit because in this hack, a lot of moves are reworked. In fact, the vast majority of moves are reworked. And that includes a lot of these Draco Meteor type moves. But before I get into that, I want to quickly talk about the stats. What was I talking about before? God damn it. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, if you're new here, that happens. What the heck? Oh, well, I guess I will talk about the Contrary moves then. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's fast and strong. It's not like the strongest thing on the planet, but the reason is very important. Also, it is tied for being the fastest Contrary user with Lurantis. Him and Lurantis are the fastest Contrary users. Both of them have 100 base speed, and that is extremely valuable. I was considering making them both 95 base speed just for balancing reasons, because again, you can kind of just spam Contrary moves and like win late game, but it's terrific. Also, that kind of makes them on suffer until late game, so I figured it's more fair just to go with the 100 base speed because that's not even that amazing anymore. It already wasn't in normal games, let alone in a ROM hack like this where speed is much higher, as you can see where it stacks up currently. I mean, it's still fast, and you can always run Choice Scarf or Agility, although Agility won't work with Contrary. So what's important to talk about is the Contrary moves. So if I go to the move guide here, you can also find this yourself in the description. You can see here there's Draco Meteor and Close Combat variants. These are moves that mimic the effects of those moves. So if you type that in, Here you go. Now we are in the right spot. So this is a list of all of the moves that I've made that are 150 base power, 100% accuracy, and they drop your highest offensive stat by 2. Those moves are amazing ordinarily. These moves are great. They become basically the second hit is 75 base power, so it's not even like the second hit is that weak. You can run it with White Herb, you can run it and switch out right after, whatever you want to do, hit and run type feel. Either way, it's amazing. Very, very powerful moves. But with Contrary, these moves are even more ridiculous. As you can imagine. So Hyper Beam and Giga Impact are by TM, and they are 160 base power. So Girafarig gets stab on these moves. So you have here with Hyper Beam Giga Impact TMs, you have a stab 160 base power move that boosts your attack or special attack by 2 stages. Do I need to say anything more? I mean, it could literally only have those moves and it would be totally amazing and probably overpowered. But it has more than that. So not only does it have Giga Impact and Hyper Beam, which again are pretty early, you'll get those in the mid 50s. By the time you get to Pony Island, you'll be able to purchase those. Later on, you get access to Psycho Boost. So Psycho Boost is either stab in Psychic Terrain or incredible with Contrary. Also, if you're curious about the logic of Contrary, I think it makes plenty of sense given that they are literally reversed of one another. Like, again, Malamar got Contrary because Malamar got Contrary because it's a reverse, like it's upside down, and also because it's like an evil Pokemon. So I understand that like it's a double-edged, like it's a double-sided. What am I trying to say here? It's like a double-layered pun, a double entendre, I guess you could say. And I understand that Girafarig isn't evil, although you could argue that the tail is kind of. So, you know, the tail fits for Contrary, and then of course the fact that it is literally half-half fits very nicely for Contrary as well. I think it's a perfectly fitting ability for Girafarig. So yeah, Psycho Boost, that's nice coverage, and that gives you +2 special attack under with Contrary. And then you get Twilight Cannon and then Superpower by Post-Game Tutor. So Superpower Post-Game Tutor is nice. That gives you +2 attack. And then Twilight Cannon is incredible. So Twilight Cannon can be both physical or special depending on which set is higher. So you have 95, 110 offenses. So it really just depends on what your set is. Let me refresh this. It depends on what your stats are. So for example, if you have a neutral attack nature, and then 110 special attack and a 0 investment, and you max out your investment in your attack, your attack will be higher. Therefore, Twilight Cannon will use your physical attack stat. So it's very versatile. You can literally swap between your EVs and abilities every single battle because you have access to infinite use ability capsule and infinite use EV training items. So you can literally just run, oh, I want Contrary for this fight. Oh, I want Psychic Surge for this fight. Okay, cool. Oh, I want to be a special attacker this fight. I want to be a physical attacker this fight. You can easily switch between the two. All you have to do is use the EV resetting berries and then the EV training items. Those will heal you. Those will boost your EVs by 126. You use those twice, you're maxed out. It's amazing quality of life stuff. You know, you don't have to worry about EV training anymore or leveling up or anything like that. It's actually useful. But what you can do is you can essentially swap between physical and special Twilight Cannon. So you can run physical Twilight Cannon plus Giga Impact, or plus Superpower. So you have 3 moves there. Or you can run special Twilight Cannon, Psycho Boost, and Hyper Beam. So you have 3 moves for each. You have you have fighting or psychic coverage, and you have dual stab for both your normal and dark stabs. And then you have, again, psychic coverage or fighting coverage. Arguably, the fighting coverage is better. However, the fighting coverage is locked to post game. I should probably make it earlier. I probably should just make it a level 60, shouldn't I? Why not? I have the room. Because a certain Pokemon do learn Superpower earlier than post game. And that's one of the few post game boosters that are actually like good. So. Yeah, there you go. All the other post-game boosters are kind of just the filler things that didn't belong in the other slots. Okay, let me just throw that on there real quick. That is also helpful. Makes physical stat even better because your physical attack stat is a little bit lower. So, sorry everybody, I have to do this real quickly. Twilight Cannon, and then 60 is Superpower. Okay, we're good. So that's awesome. All right, super powerful stuff right there. You also have Strength and Psycho Warp. Both of those are new moves. If you go to the close combat variant section, you can see them. These are moves that work like close combat. So with Psycho Warp and Strength, you will be getting a +1 defense boost and special defense boost each time you click it with contrary. So strength is amazing because it's stab and it's reteachable via TM. So you can really take advantage of the strength TM and teach it to all your Pokemon. It's great, especially for like either for normal types or just for nice, strong, neutral moves or whatever it is. It's a great move. But in Girafarig's case, it's incredible because again, you have access to this to boost your defenses. You become much bulkier. 75/75 at +1 is very bulky and tanky, so you can become very unkillable very quickly if you run something like strength, Giga Impact, Twilight Cannon, Superpower. Like that's a great move set right there. With contrary, it's very, very powerful. You also technically don't even need Giga Impact if you want the move slot for some other coverage moves, but obviously you're going to be boosting up really quickly. Your 100 base speed is not the greatest, but it is good and it is fast. If you do need more speed, you can always just run Choice Scarf. Cycle Warp is not stab. It is stab if you're under psychic terrain, but obviously then you lose the amazing effect of getting +1 defenses. So it's, if you need that power boost, you can always switch on psychic terrain. But I would say Psychic Surge is a lot more niche late game. Not that it's bad. It's just that contrary is so powerful late game that you're not really going to be using Psychic Surge that often. But it still has lots of uses, definitely, especially because you can boost your teammates' psychic moves with that, and you can also turn nature power into a psychic move, that kind of thing. You can use Psychic Surge with Parting Shot and just switch right out, and and get your teammates in. So that's always cool. So now I can talk about the other stuff. So yeah, Contrary is an absolute amazing ability. And also, before you get to Pony Island, you might be thinking, okay, well, Contrary is useless until Pony Island, isn't it? And you would be you would not be remiss to think that, but if you actually look into what a contrary does, it's actually a useful ability otherwise, because, for example, stuff like Intimidate gets reversed back. Other stat boosting, or rather stat dropping moves will completely reverse changes. So you can switch your Girafarig into a Battle Cry, for example, and get +2 to both your offenses. You can switch them into a Tickle and get +1 attack and defense. You can switch them into a Charm and get +2 attack. The possibilities are endless. There's tons of stat dropping moves now. If you go to the move guide, you can actually just look at them all. So you can see here, this is all of them. There's a bunch more. So this is all of the vastly changed ones, and then there are a bunch more that are unchanged. So you have these, and then you have these. All of these drop your stats, and so Girafarig will get boosts from these moves instead. So you can always switch your Girafarig again. The AI also might not be smart enough to know, despite being on the highest setting, it's still not the greatest AI, so it might click stat dropping moves on your Girafarig and just give you free boosts, maybe at least one time. So that's really cool. With Contrary, it's useful for most of the game as well. So you can always just swap that on early game, or in the mid game once you catch Girafarig. If you want Contrary for a specific fight, say you're running a physical set and you have Intimidate user on the opponent's side, you can always give that, or they have a Battle Cry user or something, make use of that. Very, very cool stuff. So those are the abilities, and then the stats I already covered. I think it fits pretty well. So that's very fitting. And then now for other moves. So you do have priority dual stab with Swift, Quick Attack, Night Burst, and Sucker Punch. Sucker Punch seems weird, but again, remember in Japanese it is considered a surprise attack, and it actually learned Sucker Punch in Gen 4 via Tutor, so that was enough reason for me to give it to it, again, because it's stab as well. You can't run those on Psychic Surge sets, but you can run it on Contrary. Technically, you can Sucker Punch non-grounded Pokemon, so like very niche situations, if there's like a floating, levitating, or flying Pokemon, you can Sucker Punch them in Psychic terrain, but overall, you're going to be wanting to use Sucker Punch on Contrary sets for that priority, which is really useful. And then, of course, you have Quick Attack for physical priority, and then you have Swift and Night Burst for a special priority, so you have dual stat priority there. You have Slack Off for reliable recovery. Slack Off can be very good in conjunction with Strength and Cycle Warp on Contrary sets, or with Amnesia on normal sets like Psychic Surge sets. You can run Amnesia plus Baton Pass. You can also Baton Pass stuff like Nasty Plot and Swords Dance and Calm Mind, all of which Girafarig gets and can really take advantage of those moves on non-Contrary sets. So Psychic Surge, Nasty Plot, or Calm Mind, or Swords Dance is all very powerful stuff. You have Topsy Turvy, which is just a funny little, because they're psychic powers and they're like swapped around, they're reversed. So I think that's really funny and cool. But it's a very useful move, like utility move for stuff like totems and stopping sweeps and whatnot. You do have High Horsepower in exchange for losing Earthquake, and you also have Megaton Kick and Stomping Tantrum. High Horsepower is 95 base power, 100% accurate, 30% chance to flinch. Megaton Kick is 120 base power, 30% chance to flinch, but it's 90% accurate, and it's a late game TM. What else is there? Stomping Tantrum and Bulldoze are just solid moves as well. Then you have, they have Elemental Fangs for coverage. You have Iron Head, Iron Tail, Aqua Tail, all kinds of great physical coverage. And then especially, of course, you have stuff like Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, Aura Sphere, Dark Pulse, and Hyper Voice for your dual stab. So especially, you know, you got really good dual stab options, and of course you have Psychic with Psychic Surge, so you get 3 stab moves essentially. So that's really cool. You can also take advantage of stuff like what am I trying to say here? Hypnosis. Hypnosis is consistent in that it will, well, first of all, it's 80% accuracy, and second of all, it will be giving you 2 turns of sleep guaranteed. So one of the best things you can do with that is run Z Acclimate and Stored Power. So obviously, Stored Power is not great on contrary sets because Stored Power actually boosts your special attack stat by 1 now. The downside being it only has 3 PP, because otherwise you could just sweep every fucking trainer battle with Stored Power. So I had to limit it somehow. Despite that, though, it's a great move with the +1 special attack effect, and you know, you rack up those boosts. But with that's also Psychic Surge boosted, so you're essentially getting stab, Stored Power under Psychic Surge. And you can run Z Acclimate. What Z Acclimate does is the Z effect gives you +1 to all of your stats. So Psycho Stored Power becomes 120 base power, and you get, you know, then you get the +1 each time, and it's really, really powerful. But what Acclimate actually does as a move is it makes your type match whatever move is on the top of your move slot. So if you have Stored Power on the top, you become a pure Psychic type, and now you have Stab under Psychic Surge. So you have Stab, Psychic Surge boosted, 120 base power, Stored Power, and you can use that 3 times, and that'll become even stronger each time you click it. You'll get +2 special attack, then +3, then +4. It's amazing. So that's really awesome. You can run that, or you can turn it to any type. You can turn it to any type of your moves. It's very customizable. As long as you swap the order of your moves, you can get any type. You can become electric. You can become water. You can become literally every type in the game, because you have coverage for basically every type in the game besides dragon and maybe flying. I believe besides dragon and flying, you have a coverage move for every type. Yeah, because physically you have. Let me actually go through it. Physically you have Grass Knot and Energy Ball. Sorry, Grass White. I'm gonna name if you have options for both physical and special sets. So Grass Knot, Energy Ball, physical, special. Electric, you have Wild Charge and tons of electric special moves. Physically for ground, you only have physical ground moves. You only have physical rock moves. You only have physical water moves. You only have physical poison moves. You only have physical ice moves and fire moves. But everything else is like mixed. Like you have only physical steel moves as well. So your physical move pool is slightly better. There is no move that you don't get specially that you do get physically. Sorry, there's no move that you do get specially that you don't get physically. I believe there's no type there that you don't cover, but it's still really awesome to have nonetheless. And of course, special attack stat is much higher, so not much higher, but you know, 15 points higher. It's pretty sizable difference. Yes, Hypnosis is great. You've got Night Days, you know, for strong stab. If you don't want Dark Pulse, it's 15 base power stronger than Dark Pulse, but it has a 5% chance to miss. Again, Amnesia Baton Pass is great. Baton Pass is negative priority now, so it is a little bit harder to pass speed boosts, for example, but it's still nice to have nonetheless as an option. And yeah, Acclimate Stored Power is amazing. I think I've covered about everything, honestly. Tons of really good TMs and coverage moves here, setup moves. Super powerful mon. I mean, really, like when I say it's powerful, like it's maybe even too powerful with that contrary 100 base speed. If it ends up being too powerful in version 0.1, I'll probably just nerf it to 95 base speed and drop it in like HP or something. But I think it'll be fine nonetheless. I mean, you can always just run Scarf or whatever. And also it's Girafarig, like it's fun, man. You know, also the odds of getting one out of all 721 mons in the hack is not very high. And so this is balanced with hardcore Nuzlocke in mind. I wouldn't say it's intended, but it's like slightly loosely intended. You know, if you don't want to play that way, you don't have to. But I balanced it that way because that's what I'm going to be doing. So, and also what most people I know that are interested in this type of hack will be doing. So you can always just take advantage of that, and that's really good. You know, you can. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that the odds of getting one is not very high, so I don't have to balance it that much because like. If you get one and it sweeps the late game, then good for you, I guess. Also, it probably won't. I mean, that first Cycle Boost is very strong, but like, or that first Twilight Cannon, like all those moves are very strong, but you're still going to have to use a little bit of skill to get it on the field. If you're going to lead off with it, then, you know, maybe everything outspeeds you, whatever it is. So it's not completely free, but it is one of the best contrary mons in the game, alongside like Lurantis. However, Girafarig gets dual stab, while Lurantis only gets one. And then, of course, the other contrary users are slower. So like Malamar, and Sudowoodo, and one more. Sudowoodo, and come on, Spinda. Those guys are a little bit slower, but they're not. You know, they're like still relatively fast. I mean, Malamar being probably the slowest of them all. but he makes up for it by being very bulky and stuff. So yeah, I think I've covered about everything. So I really do hope that you enjoyed this. I hope it was interesting. I hope the typing doesn't bother people too much. I know people really have their own little headcanons about what type it should be in, and when it doesn't fit that, people might get disappointed. But again, it was for balancing reasons, because there's other psychic darks with contrary. It would be too much overlap, and I want Pokemon to stand out from each other. I don't want them to outclass or be this. Like, I don't want a Pokemon of the exact same type, the exact same ability as another Pokemon, if I can help it. So again, if you are too upset about that psychic dark loss, you always have psychic surge, so you will have 3 stabs, and I do think that normal stab is an amazing stab combination. Normal dark actually is a great stab combination, so adding psychic in there is really great. You can hit a lot of things. You hit basically everything for neutral damage with your stabs. Obviously, psychic surge only lasts 5 turns or 8 turns with terrain extender, but it's still a good option nonetheless. So I do hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll be back with more. If you are new here, I didn't cover like Skull Bash. Skull Bash is awesome. It's stab. Skull Bash is 130 base power, and it gives you a +1 defense on the first turn, and then on the second turn you get +1 attack and accuracy. So that's amazing. It's not great with contrary, obviously, but it's great with like psychic surge sets if you want to run that. Physical sets, it just makes it very strong with Power Herb. Power Herb Skull Bash is insane. It's very better. It's better on other Pokemon like Hustle Pokemon, for example, because you get that accuracy boost and because it can't miss. But it is stab on Girafarig, so it's good nonetheless. I hope everybody enjoyed this one. So just make sure you do subscribe if you got this far. I think it would help with the algorithm if you could subscribe and like and comment and all that stuff. I know it's annoying when YouTubers beg for stuff, but you know, it is very helpful, and I put a lot of effort into this kind of stuff, so it'd be nice if I could get some more exposure. That's all I ask. So, you know, consider doing that if you enjoyed. Obviously, if you didn't enjoy, then feel free to leave a dislike, and you know, you can leave your thoughts down below, or you can just dislike and leave. I mean, go ahead. I know. You know, your opinion is valid. I think I've covered about everything. So I mean, there's a couple little moves I could cover here and there. You know, all these moves are slightly changed and buffed, but I'm not going to do that for every move. It's not worth it in this case. So I will just move on. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye.